Hi, everybody. It's WCGtv. New year, new challenges, new things to solve. And we're at the place that solves problems. We're at City Hall. Today, we're going to see if the mayor has any New Year's resolutions he'd like to share with us. Why don't you come with me and let's go talk to the mayor. Well,
Kevin?
hello, sir. Pleasure to see you again.
Good to have you here.
Thank you, thank you.
Let's have a discussion.
Well, all right. I can't imagine how busy your day must be, but that's a great question. How busy is today for you?
Today, being the Tuesday after budget, was a bit of a media day. CJOB, CTV, and CBC. So 2 Zoom and 1 was live radio, and so that was a lot of the morning. And then I've been out, watching things go on in the streets and watching the water trickle down the road.
Yeah, there's a lot of water on that street. I don't know what that's going to do when it freezes, but it's probably not going to be good. And I understand the budget, the taxing burden went from 12 to 6. Is that an accurate statement?
Well, for the average home in the city, it went from about, which is about $300,000. Mm-hmm. We went from 11.7 to 6.9.
Okay.
And how we got there was, through our process of budget deliberations, which of course is the most public form of government at all. TV. We have many discussions, all public. I think there was an understanding we were going to try to get that brought down. Like we do know we needed to do some making up, but 3% of that budget was going to be just to maintain services as they are. About 4% of that budget was already sort of earmarked to resupply reserves. Oh. Yeah, so there we have about 7% already.
Reserves?
Well, yeah, because reserves are getting kind of low. Like we've been kind of cutting our input into them over the years, and we've got a lot of things going on. So, and then the others were additional things. Like, and I'll give you an example. Like we were going to be putting $500,000 into the auditorium for capital. And the province, we were asking if they could match. Now, this is something we're going to be doing over the next number of years, because there's a lot of capital project work to do there. And in this particular year, the province was able to fund the entirety of it. Oh, wow. Which saves this year's taxpayer in Brandon $500,000, which is about almost 1% of taxes. So that drops that there. We don't have our finalized surplus yet, but we do know we had probably about $900,000 surplus to work with, and the decision was made to just put that right back to the taxpayer to reduce taxes. So that's getting close to 2% there. So these are, it was a couple of big things that we talked about prior. There wasn't anything real fancy that got done there.
Is there anybody you could credit with the win for that?
Well, we certainly appreciate the province realizing that we had concerns. Right. Going in, and over the years, like we've been good partners over there. It's a shared facility, province and city.
Oh, okay.
The auditorium.
The auditorium, right? That was a major announcement.
Yeah, and so they've kind of front-ended this for sure, and it does help us today. So that also sent a bit of the tone.
Operating costs are city borne?
No, we share.
WMCA?
We share.
It's always
just like the Keystone Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was new money, but if it was a shared partnership,
operating costs are shared.
Okay.
We share the deficit.
Right.
And that's what those buildings do. Unfortunately, the best financial years, Sportsplex, auditorium, and that had was during COVID when nobody uses them. But that's not why we have them. Right?
Exactly.
So that kind of stuff did help, and then there was just some fine tuning. Police, there was a reduction in that budget, which is a very large budget. It's the largest individual department by quite a bit. So they'll adapt to that on the police board. And it will not be a boots on the ground thing. It's probably other positions that are not boots on the ground that they'll look at. But yeah, it was kind of forecast out there. A couple of larger items that we were talking about. Again, you can't talk about the province doing that funding until they make an announcement. They did make an announcement on Friday. And it was good news.
It's huge news.
Yeah. We still don't have a solid surplus because that's still getting worked on, but we knew where we were safe. And again, we don't always run a surplus. We're not allowed to run a deficit.
Mm-hmm. Really?
The city municipalities can't run
I did not know that.
So if we're running too tight, it's just cut, stop.
Cut, stop.
If you remember a couple of years back, we went on a major like hiring freeze and all that just to make sure midway through the year that the budget was back in check, because you know, you can get out. It's a big budget, and you know, that like almost $1 million is a very small percentage of a $130-some million budget.
Operation, yeah. And I was spoiled. I lived in Moose Jaw for a time.
Good place.
Well, they actually, in their tax bill, one of the items on the tax bill is the discount because of the city surplus. They had so much money in the bank.
Well, that's essentially what this. Well, it's just an annual surplus, and so essentially that's what this was.
Yeah, and the interest was direct to taxpayer.
Yeah.
So to reduce the tax burden.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, we've got work cut out for us going into next year as well. So it's we do know we have this sort of 3, 4, or 5 year bit of a correction, and then we should hopefully be able to stabilize. And we will, and I think the industry sees that. I think the development community understands that. People understand that. So there's no hidden things. There's some adjustments, and I think that, and actually, you know what, the different levels of government also see that. And
well, that pickleball development is so huge. It's such a good news story that, you know how once you have a small piece of good news, people flock to it and they want to be part of it and they want to add to it and combine to it with it. Yeah. And so what I mean to say is that pickleball facility, what do they call it? The trickle down, after all of the different things, the businesses that are going to satellite onto, piggyback onto that, is a huge downtown
so that's where we need our capitalists.
Yeah.
What do you do with captured audiences? We know that the dance studios have hundreds and hundreds of people down every evening. Over 500 between the dance studios. The Westman Immigrant Services has lots of people doing work down after hours there. The library has, thousands of people going through the week. YMCA, capitalize. You have people down there. The restaurants that are doing good down there. We'll just keep building on that. We do want some shovels in the ground on some residential.
Because if you have a reason to go downtown, then you have a reason to stay for lunch. Yeah. And then you have a reason to visit the library since you're already downtown. Yeah. So it's such a great.
We still have lots of the accounting firms and the law firms and everybody down that way, and so there's an audience, a built-in audience that's already always down there. So.
Imagine the lunch hour, it's going to be absolutely insane.
So no, the pickleball thing is very exciting, and again, private sector is the ones to do those kind of things. We worked with them partly because we had some space down there. We wanted to drive people down that way. I think I was just a day or two ago, I may have watched on the news how there's a big American pickleball thing coming through, and they're trying to franchise and all that. So, to this person's credit, I think they're ahead of the game. They realize that there's a lot of opportunity in that, and more power to them. Yeah,
and I'm a huge fan of pickleball. I don't actually play it, but any racket sport is so good for your hand-eye coordination. It keeps your brain fit and active.
Well, as a municipal person, I love it because it's got the entry level is so low. Yeah. Like a grandparent can play with their grandchildren. Yeah. Anybody can play okay, golf, tennis, and I play tennis. My boys play golf. You don't always want to be the person that takes the person that's never played. Yeah. You're going just to
Will
practice.
You teach me how to play? Sure.
Yeah. Whereas you can just go play pickleball.
Yep.
So, more power to them. Hope that works out well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. Can't wait to. We're going to follow its development. And,
I think the plan is to be ready for next fall, so that it'll be indoor through the winter, which will be a great opportunity because we know where we live. It's sometimes better to do things inside in the winter.
I think we should cover the whole town.
We want to be able to see that sun all the time. You want to see that sun, and you got to taste that cold a little bit.
Yeah, it really helps you appreciate summer, and I think we have some of the best summers, some of the best skylines for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's actually been a very nice winter. Of course, I've got my solar panels at the house, and this January has been the sunniest in years, like by a long shot.
Since this is a New Year's themed interview, of course I would be remiss if I didn't ask you what your New Year's resolutions are.
Yeah, I don't have any of those. I'm always trying to work on things. But if I had to say something, my doctor is very upset with me for not staying healthy. Like,
Not enough pickleball.
well, or almost not enough anything healthy, which is not great because I'm running in the mountains again this summer. And to the point that he was quite angrily saying, like, I will send a prescription to your office to put an hour of exercise into your schedule. I said, okay, well.
Wow.
And you know, part of that is because I do have a very poor schedule that I don't control all that much.
Yeah.
And so I'm always trying to accommodate everybody.
And everyone's trying to feed you.
Yeah, there's a lot of food attached to to this, yes. But I do have to make sure that I'm doing a good job of taking care of myself. That's a big thing I'm going to have to do a better job on.
I think you may have that in common with a lot of people, myself included.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that it is. I think that you know, if I can figure out how to make sure that works into my day, then we should be able to figure it out for others too, I hope.
Did you ask them about the biz walks? If that would help with your the biz walks every Tuesday at noon.
Yes, well, yeah, I should try to get out to one. Noon's good meeting times as well. And
we should give a shout out to Emmy just for that.
Absolutely, those are great.
Yeah, she's probably laughing right now.
Yeah, those are good.
So many things to do, and I'm guilty of being a bit of a hermit in the winter. So I just want to pass along that I appreciate having all of these reasons to get out of the house, because not all of them win, but the ones that do, I really appreciate having that reason to get out of the house. Otherwise,
yeah, and on just the regular day-to-day too. Like you know, of course, we have the Brandon Hills, which people get out to all the time, and I got to get out there more and do some more running. But like the riverbank has stepped up the last number of years. Yeah. Like the skiing that's going on in there, 20-some kilometers of ski trails inside the city.
Yeah,
that's awesome. They have the youth program going on in there.
I tried out the snowshoes.
Yeah, the snowshoes. Yeah. Like, and we'll enhance that next year because it'll go into the Maple Leaf Sports Complex.
So
there's another 3 or 4 kilometers of trails in there.
Wow.
Yeah. So you know, if you're going to have winter, embrace it.
No kidding. Is there? I asked at the riverbank, and they told me that you know the skating trail that goes by the Winnipeg did at the Forks.
Oh yeah.
And I just flippantly asked, you know, this would be a great place to have something like that, and they said that, well, we have the Oval already, and it's a really popular, very well used facility, great lighting, great facilities. Yeah. Why try to improve on when you already have something so good? And I thought that was a fair answer.
Yeah, and it is a well-used facility.
Right.
And so that's right. So you kind of work together.
Yeah.
And, you know, so they can direct people over there, they can get people, and it's not too far.
It's no. Hop, skip, and a jump, yeah. And the trail groomer is amazing. I got to film it in operation. And Charlie my dog loves the trails. They're perfect for him. Yeah. I'm going to take him, try skiing with him. Yeah. Because I'm hoping he can pull me on the skis.
Yes.
We haven't tried it yet.
Not too fast. You got to. That's not all on him. Even cross country skiing, you can tip over pretty easy. So.
Yeah. No. But I do love cross country skiing. I also wanted to make it a slightly more personal interview. What are your plans going forward? How are things with the boys getting older and leaving the house? What does your life look like?
Well, it's pretty busy. The Jode's always been used to it that way, so she just rolls and adapts. You know, she picks and chooses what she comes out to me with. But she's busy. She's working all the time. She's at the hospital there, and the boys are both at university. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoy that. They're both at home and they're both at BU. And, you know, and I, again, massive BU advocate, particularly for an undergraduate degree. And then, of course, we do have other programs that are really great after that. But for an undergrad degree, I don't think there's a better undergraduate university, again, in the country. The affordability of it. Wow. You can meet with all those professors that are top-notch. We have all kinds of NSERC, you know, professors. And like, it's really, like, we're very well served. And I don't want to underplay the college too, which I love. Assiniboine College. Like for a city the size of Brandon to have such a strong education post-secondary education. Like, this is such a great place. And again, raising your family here, that opportunity to go to the college or the university right from school, or if you need a little time in between, then you go. They're both doing business right now.
Okay.
At the school, enjoying all of their classes. They really are enjoying it, and I love that. It's their thing. We talk about their classes, but they're young adults. Matter of fact, my one boy for Christmas bought me a book on what was it called? I can't remember. How to raise young adults, or
Nice.
how to relate to your young adult child, something like that. And I know
You don't. That's how you relate to your young adult child.
Yeah, but no, and I love having them at home. But they, the one, there's a good chance we'll leave to do more schooling. 'Cause, that is one of the limitations of a school like BU. If you want to go into a law degree, or if you want to go do a PhD in a certain field, that we don't have that.
And that's going to be my follow-up question: is how you and the Jode are preparing for the empty nest. How is that going?
Having two boys pop in and out of the house while they're in university prepares you.
Blow through the house, in a whirlwind.
Yeah, although we also take advantage of that too. We love that they are around. We'll be fine. We're actually looking forward to it. We enjoy spending time together. Of course, we don't live in a very large house.
Yeah.
It's under 1,000 square feet. That's where we've been for 30 years or whatever the heck it is. And one of the reasons is because we're okay being in the same room together. We kind of like each other.
Well done.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to. I don't even know where it'll be. We'll just still be busy. We just will have a much lower food bill.
No kidding. Two boys? Yeah. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. And we actually get to eat together a lot more than people would realize.
Right on.
Because if there is a chance that you can, we do. And sometimes it's only 20 minutes, but I'm pretty fortunate. But I also have my parents in town, and I still talk to
Getting a teenager home before dark is an amazing feat.
Yeah. That doesn't mean they don't go out after dinner.
True. But at least they come home for dinner.
Yeah.
And of course, that question is building to where are you leaning? There's always a looming re-election to think about. How is all of your lifestyles working out in that regard?
Yeah, right now, the Jode and I had spoke about that kind of thing, and there's no reason to think that I wouldn't be looking at running again.
Okay.
Partly because there's a lot of things we're doing, I'd like to see them through, but at the same time, I probably have only so much time to give to the community, just as you age.
Right.
But I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me if that is I'm doing everything not thinking about 2 years. I'm doing everything thinking about what's further. What are we doing for
long term?
For the long term here. So I would like to. I would like to think so, partly because of the relationships that I'm making with the province. I'll need to make new relationships with a new federal government, whoever that may end up being, but there is going to be an election. And those relationships matter. So while you've got them, you should try to, utilize them to the benefit of those governments and to the benefit of our community.
And I'd like to offer you a compliment. You have developed great relationships with the current Manitoba government, as evidenced by all of these grants that seem to be flowing in. We've had BU has been well represented. ACC, I believe, even was in the mix. And, the police department is buying some new acquisitions to house their people. Every time WCGtv sends me out on a shoot, someone's talking about how the city is improving and growing, and a lot of that was evidenced as well in that little press briefing that we attended at the police station with Glenn Samard and the finance minister.
Yeah. See, what a lot of people don't always think about is we get kind of confused by just being political parties.
Right.
And that's the beauty of municipal government. We don't really do a political party. You just do your best to govern the city.
Yeah.
So you're government. So we're in a government. So we have the most in common with whoever is in government. Doesn't really matter what party you are. Currently we have a NDP government. Well, that's who we deal with, and that's who has the most in common, because they also have to make the decisions about what we do. You work with the opposition parties, you work with everybody, but the governments make the decisions. NDP, for example, if the federal government switched, like they would have more in common with the conservative government than they would with their NDP government there, because they have to make the decisions. Governments have more in common with governments than parties do with parties.
Yeah.
So
You have the mandate.
and you know what, and I've also been very fortunate to work with people from all parties, and the great majority of people are good people to work with. Like they actually are just good community people working their tail off, trying to do the right things. All parties, you know. So I just like working with people that are trying to do good things for the community.
People working hard for
Yeah.
the right reasons. I think a good question to ask you, still along the New Year's resolution line, maybe we should drop personal and ask what the city's goals are for this year. What keeps you up at night, for example? Like, what's the burning issue?
We still have these large projects that we're trying to get through. But you know what keeps me up a lot is the things that are close to happening all the time.
All the almost.
The almost, and they just, I think, geez, just get that shovel in the ground.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I want to talk about this. You know, we've got some housing projects in the downtown that are really, really exciting. But let's just get that shovel in the ground. So there's a few shovels I'd love to see in the ground this year. I think they would be awesome. The lift station out in the Brookwood area will be completed, and that will bring a lot more housing online out that way, and the ability to do more. The tender for the next one will go out, which will hopefully start stimulating the discussions around the commercial area there on 18th Street.
Wow.
So that's really exciting, because if we can get that, again, that shovel in the ground that says it's going to start, then, you know, they might be able to start putting signs up saying future home of and things like that, which, again, the community understands that. They get that. And we need commercial space. We got a new industrial park that'll be online starting this year.
Really?
We're almost finished the Granite Road area, like the developers in there have the last number of lots in that area that they'll wrap up. So there's another new industrial area opening up down Victoria Avenue East. So like that's a good thing. So I wait to see, again, the shovels go in the ground on those kind of things. That all is really helpful. And then, you know, I can't wait to see them start working at Maryland Park School. Yeah. That tender's gone out. So that'll be great to see that construction going on. I would love to see the announcement of another school.
A new one.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Don't know anything.
I heard overcrowding is a bit of an issue.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Well, and you know, and the school division does say like they're about 4% increase year over year over year.
Wow.
You know, they have a bit more accurate data, I think, sometimes than Stats Canada. So we do have to be conscious of that. Like with this, you know, like our Stats Canada 1.9% and things like that increase, but the schools are at 4%. Okay, but let's be ready. The hospital also has really good data. But I also, there's a number of things at the college that we're going to continue to work on. And I give everything I can to help the college. I give everything I can to help the university. So college, the Prairie Innovation Center, like again, I'd love to see a shovel of some kind. And I don't know if it would be a shovel with that one, because it would be maybe demolition inside the building, because they're going to, of course, keep the building that they're looking at for the Prairie Innovation Center. Okay. So it might not be a shovel in the ground on that one.
Well, I have not heard about the Prairie Innovation Center.
That's it. That thing's going to be
more about it.
So it's like the Russ Edwards School of Agriculture would be in it. We'll go into it. The daycare piece is going into it. So it's the largest building on the college grounds up on the North Hill.
Right. Okay.
So we know how much work needs to be done in agriculture over the next number of years. We know how many people are going to be needed to do that, and the college is way out ahead of the game to try to get this done. So that's where all this. They've raised over $20 million privately for that. And the provincial government is in, I think, almost close to 90 million on that, and just waiting for some federal. So we're going to get that. So that's a massive project, and we really do want to see that. There's also 200 and some daycare spaces that are going to go in that building. Nice. So we need it to get going. So again, and then I don't expect to see a shovel in the ground but I would expect to see an awful lot more movement at the university in the medical school discussion. Like, it's moving along really well with the University of Manitoba, province, BU, the campus at BU, U of M Medical School. Yeah. So we're moving along with that, and I know we have a number of ministers in town next week for Winterfest.
Yeah.
We'll be going through there, we'll be fine-tuning some things. They got a great team at BU, and I think that we can really start stepping up some things to show the difference that's going to make. So that's another one. I don't expect to see a shovel in the ground there yet, but within 2 years maybe, maybe something. But that's a very important one for the region, like not Brandon, the region. On that, I do want to recognize that Rady School of Medicine at U of M and the work that they do out here already. You can do 3rd and 4th year medical at BU. Currently, I have 6 students that do that. Wow. They're trying to get that up to 16. The team at the hospital that does instruction and everything like that. We've got a good organization. We had 75 doctors in town, 1st and 2nd year doctors in Brandon last week. I had a chance to speak with them, the medical doctors that work in the community. We had some young ones and some older ones. I hate that the older ones are my age, but but speaking, and I tell you, if I could take those doctors around with me everywhere I went, the way that they could talk about Brandon and for being here for 25 years, raising their families here, the assets we have, the reason to be here, I would take them everywhere with me. They just, they really can tell you the story of the benefit of the city. So, and again, that recruitment is for Brandon, but it's also for our region. What's good for Brandon has got to be good for Neepawa, Verdon, Boissevain, and vice versa. We got to take care of each other out here.
Yeah, and medical schools aren't so common enough that you don't have to travel to attend them, right? Typically, your clientele is from out of town, usually.
Usually, but we also there could be a lot of people that U of M has a lot of Manitobans, right? And a lot of them are Winnipeg. Yeah. But we might be able to get more out here that are rural and want to stay kind of rural and do their medical rural, which Brandon's that unique place. It depends what fund we're applying for, if we're rural or urban.
Trying to be both. Yeah, just split it right down the middle. Well, you gave me a much more elaborate answer than I was expecting. I thought you were just going to say, if we can get on top of potholes, we'll be...
I will give you a pothole thing.
Okay.
So because with our budget, and what 6.9% is still a high budget.
Right.
But we were focused on core services. So there is an enhancement in there that should bring in a whole other team that is focused on potholes, because we know, today, if I'm driving on the streets today, it's January, and there's water all over the streets, going into the cracks, going into the potholes. It's going to freeze again. This is just not good. This is
push up all that beautiful work.
The city can't do anything about that. Yeah. But we can be as ready as possible to take on the spring. We can look at different ways of doing pothole repair. We can do different ways of doing sort of regular street repair. And we're trying that. So we've actually tried to enhance that, with purpose, to address those kind of things. Because I don't necessarily see that changing. It seems like we're definitely in a system where January and February, they don't stay frozen.
It's a weird time.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. Plus
comfortable to run, but
my dog loves it.
Yeah,
I love it, but I know
it isn't even that comfortable to run. It's too slushy, and it's and then it turns to ice. So it's one thing if it's the winter trails, but you don't want to go on the.
No, the streets are horrible.
The streets, they're not great.
The walking trails are amazing, but the streets are disgusting.
Yeah. Also excited this year too.
Oh.
So you got me rambling on here. Also really excited, actually. You know what? It's sitting right here.
Right here. Let's see.
Peter Sawatsky Sculpture Garden.
I've never heard of it.
Well, this piece is going in the spring.
At the riverbank.
If you go down to the riverbank right now, you'll see a big concrete slab right as you approach. Well, this is what it's going to be.
Well, looky.
know?
Oh my! So that's quite a big.
But it's
addition.
massive. So this is
Yeah.
8 foot, 34 feet long, 7 feet wide. So it's right here. So here's the riverbank, and as you drive in, you'll see a big concrete slab right there. That's going there, and there's about 4 or 5 others that are going in. What they've done in the last year is sort of taken that space that was nothing, between Conservation Drive and 18th Street, and they put all those new paths in there. And so they're going to have these sculptures. There'll be 4 or 5, 6 of them around there, and then they'll continue to add to that. And it will really make for a place for people to come. And of course, Peter is, from Glenborough,
Okay.
and a world class, unbelievable. And the fact that we'll have a sculpture garden with his work in the city is, well, it's only because he's from around here.
Right.
Like, a sculpture garden from a person of his quality would be a Montreal, Toronto, Winnipeg, Calgary, Vancouver.
Yeah.
It's here because he's from Glenborough.
Neat.
And if he was from somewhere in Alberta, they wouldn't be thinking, we should do it in Brandon.
Yeah. No kidding.
No. So this is us capital, and it's also the most skilled artist you're going to find out there. So anybody that's an artist can go by and see what goes in there and say, my goodness, that is got to be appreciated. The effort and time, the skill that went into that. And if you're a person that doesn't understand art, you can go by it and say, that looks like a caribou. I get it. I understand it completely, and that's impressive.
Caribous, yeah.
Yeah, and we do have a few down there already. The heron right at the entrance and the deer.
Right.
Those are his.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's exciting. So it'll be something that, again, most of that money coming through private.
Neat.
So the private donations and that are saying, we'd like to build a Brandon that people really want to show off.
There's a lot of activity going on at the riverbank. You talked about snowshoes and skis, which is huge. Now finding out about this is huge. There was some space that was, after the flood, some space became unusable. Is there an initiative to reclaim that long on the other side of the river from the riverbank specifically I'm referring to? Oh,
yeah. I don't know what the long-term plan is there. Like, it used to be the gardens.
Right.
So they're going to be doing the gardens again. We'll start again this year, but more of around the actual riverbank, like the building.
Oh, okay.
So the gardening groups are going to be in there doing that. They're working on other plans for over there, but you do have to really be flood considerate.
Yeah, we're always under the threat.
Yeah, and
There's
so
nothing we
everything,
can
the
do
whole
about it.
plan
Yeah.
for all of everything down there now is accepting of the fact that, what do we do with this land that we do know at times floods? So it's all
It's not
taken into
flood
consideration.
proof. It's a tougher sell.
Yeah.
Have you gone skiing yet?
Yes, my wife and I, with my brother and sister-in-law, were out during the Christmas break, and actually they got a great rental stuff down there. It was really, really enjoyable.
Yeah.
It was very enjoyable.
It was so good. And the feature that WCGtv did down there was posted to social media. And then one of my friends on Facebook said if we hadn't sent cameras down there, they would have never known. And they took their grandchildren and they went skiing for the day.
Yeah,
it feels good, eh?
Absolutely, yeah. 'Cause word of mouth is probably the best way to get things out there. And they did start doing some of this last year, but we didn't have snow until January last year, and then we didn't have most of it until March when we had the disaster snowstorms.
Yeah.
But this year it's been a great year for it. Like right from day one, they've been skiing out there, and the temperature's been good. Lots of snow. Yeah, it's been really.
I saw a snowmobile this year. I haven't seen snowmobiles in years.
Yeah, well, you see all kinds of things. Well, yeah, the snowmobile guys are loving this. I
Yeah.
actually saw a bunch of deer running down 18th Street on my way back here today. You never know what you'll see.
I've never seen that.
They're right down 18th Street, right by the university. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you never know what you'll see.
You see the odd deer, but I've never seen.
We use that when we do for
numbers.
the rural urban.
Yeah.
If I need to apply for a rural grant, I make sure I show
Make
deer
sure.
right down the main street. Yeah.
Well, the photographers love it.
Yeah.
Which brings me back to your sculpture garden. Photographers are going to be flocking
Well,
to
not
this
just
garden.
photographers, but anybody that would come to the city would know you're in Brandon.
Right. But photographers get your message out, right? They're going to
no,
advertise
absolutely. And
Brandon for us.
So there'll be certain pieces that are in there that people say, I got to get a photo by this,
Yeah.
and they'll
I
know
see
that
Wei Chen all over that.
That's Brandon. Yeah. Yeah, and they'll know that this is Brandon because you can't see it any other place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sunset over Bison.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. No, it will be really. That's kind of the nice to have stuff, and it's the community that's doing that. You know, as you can see with our budget, we can't do a lot of that right now. We're core services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I ask you if there was somebody that was instrumental, came through in the clutch to help you get past that, get that budget work down to what you wanted it?
Council did, and you know, and I'll tell you, there's probably you know, a third to half of the people on that on council that, like, everybody worked really hard. Mm-hmm. Everybody was well informed. Our staff did a great job of keeping everybody up on everything, and again, lots of public discussion on it. The council worked together well, but a third to half would have maybe liked to try to get things down a little more. Third to half, we're kind of saying, you know what, let's maybe stabilize so that we do know we're better for next year and that. But again, adult discussion, serious discussion. We have a great diversity of opinion at that table, and I thought it was done really respectfully. I don't think any individual left there thinking I got exactly what I would have wanted out of that.
Right.
Everybody had to give a little bit or take a little bit, like, you know, and but with the diversity of voices at that table and opinions, I do think everybody in Brandon has a voice there, you know, because it isn't a whole bunch of people just thinking the same thing.
Well, that's my follow-up question is, was there a lot of public outcry, public pressure, a lot of public influence that drove the numbers down? Or was it the city councilors acting on our behalf?
You know, it was probably more, in this case, it was probably more councilors, and there was a sense of, that was something that needed to be balanced. Like, I think we've been articulating the position we're in. We're trying to improve that. But even then, like, you know, like, we're all just a bunch of middle-class City of Brandon people that are on council,
yeah,
that also get a tax bill. And, you know, so it has to be palatable. But you also have to look more to tomorrow. And I think the last few years, we've tried to look more to tomorrow as well. So what are the decisions we're making today? And how does it affect the next year and the year after that? Because it can't just be for today, because it just builds and builds and builds. So, yeah, I'd say overall people were satisfied. The feedback I've got so far has been more from people that think, oh, we cut away at too much, but I don't know. The percent doesn't always matter. It's like, what are you doing with that money?
Right.
And right now, I don't feel we want to get cutting a lot more, because then we start cutting into services. And you know,
Never a popular decision.
Never a popular decision. Like, a lot of communities don't do the snow clearing we do. You know, well, most, like Regina, Winnipeg, Thompson, like, they wouldn't do the snow clearing that we do. But if we were to tell people we were going to do less snow clearing, it would be an uproar.
Lose their minds, yeah.
There would be an uproar. But we're working on what we can do going forward.
Well, like you mentioned earlier, you can't please everybody, and typally pleasing nobody is almost the best
almost an
solution.
in between sometimes. Yeah. Because it isn't an us and them council. It's like, what can we do that is the best for the most people?
Yeah. And I've had the good fortune of running into a couple of councillors at their normal place of business, and it is a bit of a mind shift when you see them on TV doing council work, and you put them in that box.
Yeah.
But then when you see them in their actual job, it's a totally different box solving totally different problems, and you wonder how they have time to. So is burnout an issue for councillors?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I think we got it.
No, burnout's a serious issue.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know how it couldn't be, right?
It's a very serious issue. Yeah. Hence, I have a doctor that's told me that I better start making sure I get my exercise in, because, you know, fortunately, I've had a doctor for about 30 some years, and I get nervous because he's going to retire at some point.
Oh, no.
But, you know, he knows me well, and he wants to take care of me, and he knows how valuable it is to make sure that I'm exercising more for my mental health than just my physical health.
Yeah.
You know, genetics helps with physical health, but he knows that, and that's why he's like, I'm going to write a prescription. You know, he's pretty upset with me, actually. You know?
With your jogging,
I'm not getting nearly as much
you're
in,
not
though.
getting enough time in.
Well, because it does take a bit of time, and there's just so much to do all the time.
Yeah.
That you kind of just have to do that. You have to build that time. And and I always try to respect, because I was a counselor for years as well. And even at that, I tried to respect others, because I had a bit more flexibility as a business owner than people that are like they're at a job like 9 to 5. You got to make real accommodations to make sure that you're not mixing in their schedule. So if you're working till 5 and then you got to be in here for a 6 o'clock meeting prior to the 7 o'clock meeting, like it makes for a lot.
A 3-hour meeting turns into a 4, turns into a 5-hour meeting.
We ask a lot of people, and burnout is a high potential. And you know what? But people take care of each other pretty good. You do want to recognize, you want to talk to people if their behavior's a little just off in that, and you just make sure everybody's okay. Mm-hmm. And if you're not okay, that's fine. Take a bit and let's get back.
Help yourself so you can help the rest of
yeah,
us.
Yeah. So no, it's I think that's across the board, because everybody's trying their best to do what people think they need you to do, and you got to be on all the time too.
Yeah. But really speaks to the dedication of the counselors. A lot of people don't know that it's a part-time position. I say that because I had no idea when I found out, and I was very surprised.
Yeah.
I thought Brandon was big enough to have a dedicated council.
No.
And it's, if the counselors are finding a way to manage work-life balance between public service, private industry, and then all the other things that are tugging at us.
Yeah.
Well done to the counselors.
Yeah, no, I'm always impressed with them, and we always do make sure we try our best to accommodate them, because we ask a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they give a lot. And there's committees, and there's all kinds of different things that they do in the community, because the reason they're counselors is usually they were involved in the community. Yeah. Anyway, they didn't come out of the blue, like they've been involved. That's how a lot of people will ask, well, everybody knows you and this and that. Well, that's with almost all the counselors, because they do things in the community, and eventually people say, well, why don't you do
Get
more?
up there, do more. Since you've done so much, why don't you do a little more?
Yeah, but it is good. It's like, again, like there's no politics at our table in the sense of, federal, provincial type stuff. There's just a bunch of community people with varying opinions on how to try to create the best community to live in.
Yeah, solve the problem.
Yeah.
Concentrate on the goal.
Yeah. And right now, I do think we are trying to focus on core issues. Like we just realized that's, we're at a big growth period here. We got lots of things going on, but let's make sure that the things that we need to do, we're doing really, really well.
Well, that's a great message.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Let's see if we follow through.
Let's see if we get. See how far we get with it.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to wrap up by getting you to walk us through what we're looking at in your office walls. It's some very interesting artwork, if I do say so myself. That the picture, I don't know if the camera picks it up, but it actually has a 3D feel to it, the way it pops off the wall.
It's framed that way.
Yeah. Was there a reason for that, and what is the story behind it?
Well, some days I feel it's a highway to prosperity, and other days I feel it's a road to nowhere. The truth be told is that's actually my cousin's.
You're kidding.
Yeah, so it's my cousin's, and he was moving, and he said, "You want to take that?" And I said, "Sure." And so in a roundabout way.
Did you get in a car accident on the way? Why is the frame
No, it's framed like that on purpose.
Really?
Yeah. But it was coming from Vancouver, and we had some stuff shipped, some of his other stuff shipped to Calgary, and then Jode saw somebody on Facebook or something that said, "I have a trailer and I'm looking to coming back from Calgary. Does anybody need things picked up?" Mm-hmm. And she said, "So I've told this person to pick it up and that." Well, so I tell them to meet me here when they get back.
Yeah.
It was Randy Lewis, the old deputy chief of police.
No way.
Picked it up and brought it back. Yeah. And then this, of course, is Linus Woods.
Linus Woods? Oh.
Linus Woods is an artist from Long Plain.
Right.
And he's got art all over the world. If you go into the big Manitoba Hydro building, you'll see his pieces in there.
And where's Long Plain at?
Long Plain, right near Portage.
Okay.
Yeah. And Linus has been painting for years and years, great guy. And this one's kind of that urban rural.
I was just going to say, he's really captured the difference between
Yeah.
rural and urban
Yeah.
environments and
Yeah.
summed it up in one picture.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you see the one smaller one over there, but that's Brian. Brian's at the Blue Door a lot, and he's downtown quite a bit. And he if he gets $1, he spends it on painting, and he paints and paints and paints. And so I always try to support people. So
Does Brian have a collection?
you'd be NRC.
display?
You'd have to go see it at the BNRC.
BNRC,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah. No, there's. Yeah, I've always been a bit of a fan of art. Maybe by the time I do leave city council, those big white walls in the council chamber will have art on them. Rather than just white walls. They drive me nuts, those white walls.
Wick.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure
Yeah,
chatting
always.
with you.
I always
And,
appreciate what WCGtv does.
Well, I'm so glad you took the time.
Great community
And
asset.
You're such a busy person. This is like winning the lottery every time we come to visit you. Thank you again for taking time. So busy, and but you seem to find a way, which is, I think, you're going to be your legacy. You found a way to get the budget down. Well, you found a way to
That was a cumulative effort with everybody
you
else.
found a way to get everybody at the table working together,
Yeah.
and we appreciate it. And I just wanted to pass that along. That good job.
We'll keep working at it, and you guys keep doing what you're doing, because it's you're regional as well, and it's important to be able to get local messages and local stories to people.
Serve the community.
Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure.